All right, so welcome everybody to my chat with Napa High baseball coach Jason Chatham about the upcoming spring baseball tournament that's going to take place in the spring of 2021. So first off, where I'd like to begin is, where did this come about? How did this come about?
Thanks, Kyle, for having me. Long time fan of your work, as you guys know, as you know personally. I've told you that. So looking at the budget this year, some of the fundraising that was supposed to happen last year in the spring wasn't able to happen because of COVID. We only got, I don't know, about 25% of our season done. And so we didn't really have a chance to get all of our fundraising. So what my goal actually this year, what I wanted to do is I wanted to take the group to Hawaii for spring break. I wanted to do something kind of big, something fun, and use some of the context that we have to get just a unique experience. And we didn't have the funds this year. So looking at the situation, looking at where we're at, and also realizing that, the world is a very different place right now. We don't have the funds to travel. I don't even know what travel looks like for us in the spring season exactly right now, right? So with those things being a reality, I wanted to do something different with our spring break opportunity, because we don't have games during spring break, from league, which is sometimes we do. And so we have this open week. And I'd recently developed a relationship with the head of the Napa Valley Baseball Club, the new head of that, Chris Padawan. And Chris is amazing. He does a great job. He runs a local basketball league. My younger son Dylan plays in that. And I talked to Chris and I said, listen, what would it take for us to get access to the Vets Home? I played there as a kid. I love the Vets Home, and there's a lot of reasons why I thought this would be a good idea. But Chris said that that we could find a way to make that work, and I just started building it from there. And it came together pretty quickly once that idea came out.
So talk about how the name of it came about. I saw on your Instagram post that it's your grandfather. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I'm one of the only males in my family to not have served in the military. My father served in Vietnam, and my grandfather fought in World War II, and he doesn't talk about it a lot, but it's all. He lives at the Vets Home. He's been living at the Vets Home for 15 years. I know a little bit about it. He's very humble. He doesn't want to talk about it, but I know that he manned an M51 anti-aircraft gun called the Sky Sweeper, and he did that in the military. Came out of the military, went and played football at William and Mary, was a tight end at William and Mary, a big time sports guy. And then forever, he was the district administrator for District 52, which is south of San Francisco. And so he was the Little League district administrator there. And as a kid, we would go out and, it was all about baseball all the time. We always talked baseball, and we went to Giants games. He threw out the first pitch one time. He got me in the dugout. It was how I became a Giants fan. And he just has a very humble, selfless attitude, has lived at the Vets Home for 15 years. So he is a vet. And I just, to me, the Vets Home is just the coolest place. I love the veterans up there. I love how the veterans will come to games and use their air horns, and they'll cheer. And if a guy doesn't run a hard 90 down the line, they'll let you have it. And that is one of the most incredible places I've ever been in my baseball journey. It seemed like a really awesome thing. And because it's at the Vets Home, and because my grandfather's a vet, he's 94. I'm hoping he'll be able to go and catch a game there. It just all tied together. What a better way to honor, a veteran than one that's been doing is everything he could for baseball his entire life. And that lives at the Vets Home there. I just thought it all came together, and I'm really excited about it. And I haven't had a chance to talk to him because I can't go to the Vets Home right now. So I'm going to Zoom with him soon. But it's not the reason why we did the tournament. But you have to name the tournament something, and who better again than somebody that just loves kids, loves the game, and served his country.
Gotcha. So I mean, you kind of hit on the venue of Borman Field, but I saw that that there's also going to be games at Mount Field, which is, as we can see, here's my Zoom background.
Yeah.
Talk about having games at both facilities. They're both great places to play, and how the logistics of it is going to work. Is it going to be a 1-day tournament event, 3-day event? Like how long and all that?
Yeah, so it'll be April 1st through 3rd, which is Thursday through Saturday. And of course, we're hoping we don't get any weather. But that's the game plan right now. And uh, the first day, we're going to have to, some of the teams that are coming have to come later. And I think two of the schools are in set, two of the teams have school in session. And so they need afternoon games. And so what we're planning on doing is just making both venues available for Thursday, potentially Friday as well. And then Saturday we would go, back to back to back 3 games at Borman. And I'll lay out the schedule more specifically as we get closer, but that would be the tentative game plan right now. And for example, we have there's a lot of good teams coming to this. I mean, we have a 6-team tournament, but, 2 that are always perennially ranked in our area for sure are Campolindo and Clayton Valley. I mean, those guys are perennially ranked. I have a relationship with the guys over at Armio and Fairfield, guys that I coached when I coached at Rodriguez, that I coached against. Great guys. They have up and coming programs. Armio beat us last year. They've beat us the last 2 years. They're a great program as well. And Rancho Cotati, that's a new relationship for us. And I'm looking forward to, they have a new coach, and I'm looking forward to bringing them in as well. And, doing all this through Mount Field, which, when we're in season, that field is as good as it gets. The Vets Home has just an unbelievable, like your voice carries, like the sound of the bat carries at the Vets Home. You can't replicate that anywhere. And I think both of these are really premier opportunities to play at this level.
I mean, how important is it to you also to get baseball back at the Vets Home, high school baseball specifically, because the high school baseball hasn't been played there in a few years. So, and they've only normally had Legion baseball for the last few years, and then nothing this year, obviously. So, how important was it for you to get back up there with high school baseball?
Yeah, I think it's a perfect way to do it because you're in a tournament, and in theory, that should eliminate most home field advantage. Even though we might end up playing a game at Mount Field, which again I love. There's nothing better to me than playing at Mount. But the Vets Home too. I mean, it's I just feel like it's the right experience for the right time. And getting high school baseball there again, it's big. I mean, the Vets love it. They love to go to the games. I mean, that's a big deal. And it's something that we hope that they come out there and see it. We like to play our league games at home because there is a little bit of a home field advantage. You know your yard, and there's a lot of details that go into having a home event, and there's definitely an advantage. But in a tournament, it's a perfect way to get up there and get more. It's because it's during spring break. We should be able to get a pretty big draw, I would hope, to those games. And, hopefully that's safe at that point. I guess we have to see where the medical part of that goes, but I can't wait to get up there, man. High school baseball needs to be played there, at least on occasion, and especially during an event like this.
So is it going to be a tournament feel? Like, are you going to have a bracket to it? Is it going to be elimination type, or how's that part of it going to work?
So there's going to be 2 brackets. There's going to be, 2 sides of the bracket, 3 teams in each side. You play everybody in your bracket. And then based on, wins, losses, and then tiebreakers from fewest runs allowed, right? Then you would determine your top seed 1, 2, and 3 from each bracket. And then they would meet on Saturday for the for the championship, for the 3rd place game, and for the 5th place game. I'll definitely get trophies, for the 1st place game, and then probably t-shirts as well. We're charging $400 plus a box of baseballs, which is pretty standard for tournament. We're not going to make much on that. What I want to do is put that money back into the tournament to make sure that we do a first class job.
Gotcha. I mean, you kind of hit on the field briefly with Clayton Valley and Campo and the whole field, but man, when I saw Clayton Valley and Campolindo, I'm like, boy, this is going to be a tough field. And how are you guys going to sort of use this to maybe help you with when the playoffs come seeding wise? I mean, that is important in the NCS.
Yeah, that's our goal overall. Obviously, is to be in the playoffs and to be successful in the seeding of it. And I'm trying to look at it as, if you can play playoff baseball before you get to the playoffs, then it gives you experience. And based on the way that our program looked last year, I feel we're ready for the playoff. I feel that our program has turned a major corner, and we're trending in the right direction. And obviously we lost a tremendous amount of talent last year, but we also have a lot of younger guys coming up and a lot of guys that were young playing on varsity last year that really performed. So I think we're going to rise to the occasion. And I'm excited to get, into that level of competition and see what we're all about, because really at the end of the day, what you want to do is find out how well you're playing the game of baseball. And you don't find that out unless you play at the highest levels. And, we have some tough teams in this tournament. We're going to find out where we're playing.
And I mean, the thing about it that I find interesting is Napa High has history on the baseball diamond with Campolindo. I'm sure you remember when I was with you in the dugout when we played them down there when they had Max Flyers. So I mean, did that have anything to do with getting them in the tournament?
Well, I think they reached out to us in part for that, because we did put a notification out on the NCS website that we were looking to host a tournament, and I was hoping to be a little bit selective if that were necessary to do so, but it just came out that we had that last spot to fill, and Clayton, and we had just signed on Clayton Valley, and then Campolindo came out. I thought, this is perfect. So I think Campolindo saw us and recognized that relationship and reached out to play that game. And again, I mean, that's, there's another layer of this too. And that is, I want our guys to get exposure. We want our players to get an opportunity to be seen. And, when you're playing against some of these teams, and again, I think the entire bracket's going to be solid, but I know that there's, the Campolindo, for example, one among many, has a really big following. I expect that our guys are going to get a little bit of looks there, and they should. I mean, we have a few guys that are already getting Division I looks that are going into their junior year right now, and I expect that this is going to continue. I want these guys to be shown off because they can play.
And then obviously Clayton Valley has played vintage the last few years, so I would imagine that had something to do with making that happen.
Yeah, they had reached out to us too to get a game earlier. So we actually have them on our schedule, which I'm going to be releasing here in about the next week. And I'll probably do that on our Instagram. But Clayton Valley, we have as a regular game. We're actually traveling to them this year. They're going to come to us next year for varsity, and then JVs will go in the other direction. So we'll go to their varsity, their JVs will come to our varsity field. And when we were talking, it came up that we had a tournament, and he said, "Hey, do you have room in that?" And absolutely, for Clayton Valley, we wanted to make sure we got them in the tournament. It worked out. And, I have to say that I'm excited to see those guys too. Another very successful program. They've got a really cool mascot. I mean, that's and I know in football, they've got a pretty good thing going too, but we're at the point where we're really excited about our product. And, we want to see what our product does up against some of these other products that we've been seeing for a number of years.
So is the goal of this tournament to eventually grow it into an 8 or 16 team field? Is this just the start of it right now? Is that sort of the direction you want it to head?
Yeah, I mean, things have to fall into place, right? We'll have to make sure we can get the vets home again in the future, and we'll have to make sure that it works out for the teams. But I would love to grow this. I don't see any reason why not. I mean, we have the fields. We've got a couple of really good fields right here. Maybe it's even possible to reach out to Vintage and see, if we could use their field as well. If the thing got big enough down the road, maybe that would be a possibility as well. But Justin Sienna, the same thing. I mean, we have some quality opponents, some quality fields in this area, and it would be nice to make this a bigger deal. And again, I like the idea of showcasing this just around the veterans home. In talking with the other coaches, there was a lot of the coaches were connecting with the idea that they had family that were vets and that they thought that was a really cool thing to do. And so, to me, this is, it's win-win, and what I'm hoping for right now is that we have a season that we're allowed to do this. We're slated to start on March 15th. And, if we're talking about April 1st, we're going to have to be ready to go fast. And our pitchers are going to have their innings stretched out already, because normally in the first couple of weeks of the season, you have small pitch counts. We're going to have arms in shape ready to go on day one. That's going to be a challenge. And we're going to have to hope that, that COVID has, to whatever degree it is that we're allowed to play, that we're allowed to do that. And I'm hoping we can have fans, because it won't be the same thing there. If you can't have veterans there heckling our guys and air horns and hot dogs and the whole thing, man, that's the ambiance that we want.
So, pivoting gears a little bit, we've obviously seen the CIS plan for sports this upcoming year to condense the seasons down into 2 seasons, from fall sports and from January to March, and then winter and spring together from March to the end of the year. How will this affect you, and what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, so I think and I actually have it behind me, and this is for academics, but my word of the year is flexibility. And so I've had that up since day one of teaching. This is where I teach. I do my Zooms here. I Zoom on campus. I'm one of the teachers that wanted to do that from campus. So this is where I do it. And I think that word applies here too, Kyle, because I think we have to be flexible. In talking with Darcy Ward, which Darcy Ward is an amazing athletic director, by the way. She's phenomenal. I hope she sees that, because she deserves that, to hear that credit. She's really good. Darcy has asked all of the coaches to be flexible. And what does that mean? That means that we need to work together in sharing athletes where appropriate. And that's not normally something we would do. That's, normally when you're playing baseball, you're playing baseball. When you're playing basketball, you're playing basketball. But this year, that could mean that we're sharing the same guys. That could mean that my catcher is the point guard, and that's possible that happens. So to prepare for that, our league games are on Fridays and Saturdays. Mm-hmm. To allow us to have the week where, if there's any kind of instability or if people need to go to another sport, that they're allowed to do that. And then our games will happen on Fridays and Saturdays. So my practice plans have to be flexible. Normally I have everything laid out. And it's pretty structured, but we want to take care of kids. How could you tell a kid that, hey, no, you can only play one sport this year? It'd be hard to do that. I don't think it would be fair. And I think for this year that we can really make that work for kids and let them play multiple sports. And, I'm hoping that benefits us too, in a way that maybe we get some kids that, that play other sports that like to try out playing baseball. And, it's kids first, Kyle. That's really what it is. And so we're going to be flexible with that.
Have you guys been able to do any on-field activities during this time? Not only fall sports?
No, it's that's been hard. I've probably been a pain in Darcy's. I've probably been a thorn in her side a little bit. I send her a text all the time, like, hey, when can we get on the field? When can we run? When can we condition? Whatever it is, when can we do it? Because I can't wait to get out there. I mean, it's been, I don't even know, 6-8 months. It's all blending in together. It's been a long time. And
7 technically.
Yeah, so there you go. And I know my sons, they work out. We live right next to a park, and they work out a few nights a week, and they stay in shape and they throw a little bit. But it's really gonna, even if we just got together and just ran, even if we ran 6 feet apart and just ran, that would be a win right now. Because getting the guys together, I think that there's definitely a mental health element to this pandemic. And when you can get kids together and say, listen, we can do this safely. We can start to practice safely, even in a limited capacity. I think there's going to be a real value there. But I also respect the health professionals. My wife is an ICU nurse. I know the science of this. I know it very well. And so, there's 2 things here. I want kids to go back, but I want to do it when we could do it, and I want to do it correctly. We're not going to cut any corners here. And but man, I can't wait, Kyle. I can't wait till we get those guys out there. Like I said, even if they just ran, and kids traditionally don't like running, but I think they'd love that right now.
Your thoughts on coaching in what could be one of the most unpredictable seasons of high school sports ever? I mean, it's going to be like that. I'm going to be all over the place in the spring. I don't know where I'm going to be. So,
yeah, this is year 20 for me. And there's, I think that you get a little bit of perspective as you get deeper into your coaching career. My first couple of years, it was all about winning every game. And look, I'm not saying it's not about winning, Kyle, because I want to win every game. But I think there's a bigger picture here. And, when there's chaos, there's also opportunity. And I think the opportunity here is that we can build something. Our kids can build something together. And that's really what the opportunity is right now is, frankly, this sucks, right? The pandemic, it does. It's not ideal. I'm in an empty classroom each day talking on Zoom. It's frustrating. but life goes on, and there are kids out there that need to connect, and there are kids out there that have been waiting for their opportunity to be a Napa High player. And when we get that opportunity to play together, we're going to make the most of it. And I think right now is when it's toughest to be at your best. And right now is when I think leaders and people that are really committed are going to come together and make something great with this. And that's I want to be part of that group. I want to say that we're going to be winners on the field and off the field, because we're going to do this thing right, and we're going to do it with a lot of energy, and we're going to build something great here.
Since the last time I saw you in person, I mean, how much growth can you take from last season? I mean, it was really a good year in all aspects. I mean, you guys were one of the teams that ended your season with a win. How great is it to say that? But I mean, like you had mentioned before, you only played 25% of the season. So what can really be taken from last season?
Yeah, I mean, it's all it is. There is a sample size element, right? We had 5 games, we were 4-1, but behind the scenes, man, the coaches were excited. Like we didn't want to tell the players how good they were, because if you start telling players how good they are, they start to believe the hype a little bit, right? And once you believe the hype on yourself, it could become a little dangerous, because if you start to believe it too much, you don't do the things that it took you to get there. So we told our players that they could be good, but we would powwow after practice and say, these guys are ready. These guys are ready to get after it. And we kept it quiet because we didn't want to build them up too big yet. And we had to let them see it for themselves. But there was a turning point, maybe 6, 7, 8 practices in, where the guys are like, we're going to win. And we looked at each other, the coaches were like, yeah, we're going to be successful. And I think that feeling, again, we went 4-1, that feeling that we had, it would have carried over, because that's how sports work, is that you build it in practice and you do it in the games. And who knows exactly where things would have shook out. But I'm telling you, I've got a lot of experience in this sport, and so do the other coaches that we have on staff. We were going to be very successful. We feel really good about our program. And we've done it through building relationships and building people up. I mean, that's what we do. We build relationships. We take care of our kids. We give them opportunities, and when they can play, we let them go. And we have fun with that, man, Kyle. That's one of the things I'm really proud about, is that we do it together. We really bring our players in together to make, decisions that we can make decisions on together. And our coaches want to coach kids, and our kids want to be coached. And when you have a relationship like that you care about each other, good things happen. And we have that right now. And that's what I'm talking about, is that we're going to be all right. We're going to be successful because we have those relationships, and those things are in place.
Gotcha. Well, thank you very much for this, Chatty. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you, Kyle. And again, man, I think you're doing great work. I know I said that at the beginning of at the onset of this, but nobody's doing it better than you are right now in local sports. It looks fantastic. I appreciate your work, and I look forward to working with you more once whatever this is stops and we get a chance to get out there again.
Yeah, it'll be fun. All right, I'm gonna